Are your techs prepared for success in the field? Today on the Blue Collar Proud Show. Hey there, Proud Nation. Welcome back to another episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show, the show that is all about having and living the blue collar business dream. If you can dream about a business that takes you exactly where you want to go in your life, we believe you can build it, and Taylor and I want to be along for the ride. Thank you for being in our audience every single week. My name is Carter Harkins, and with me here is Taylor Hill.
Yep, I am here yet for another week, and man, I'm excited about this topic. This is going to be good.
It's a good one. One of our favorite people, Chuck Roydhouse, is back on the show today to help us understand some things specifically around training employees, what it means to be, quote, field ready.
Yeah,
and it's a bigger conversation than just thinking about tech training skills, if you will.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh yeah.
In terms of the trades, this is it goes beyond that, so it'll be a good conversation.
Yeah, and I don't know anyone better than Chuck Roydhouse to talk about just different types of systems and what he does, and you know the things that he puts in place in his business. I mean, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But you know, there's something that a lot of people don't know about you.
What's that?
That you really are a systems guy.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's really interesting because everybody thinks you're the touchy-feely, get in touch with my inner Carter, because we talk about culture and all that. But one of the things they don't know about you is how absolutely dedicated you are to putting a system in place wherever you can.
Yeah.
So talk about that and why that is so important to you.
Well, it's how I'm wired. I can't help myself when it comes to thinking about problem solving that way. And when we talk about the touchy-feely and the culture part, I mean, I think in my mind, I think about culture as a system too.
Oh, I know.
You know, and so I tend to see the world that way and organize it in my head that way. I will say I'm not always the best person in terms of following the system. Because to me, that's not nearly as interesting as creating the system, innovating the system. So that's really what it comes down to, is innovation. It's a way of problem solving. Okay, we've got a problem. How can we fix this problem? And is this problem likely to occur over and over again in our business? Yeah, it probably is. So that means we need to create a system that helps keep us in the lines. My definition of a system, and I've never heard anyone else really kind of use this definition. They've come close, but you know, if you have to think of a system as a set of rules and principles and tools that keep you from making errors as much as possible, right? It makes it harder to go off the path in a good system than it is to just go with the system and stay on the path. The system, in other words, enables right action. So that's kind of how I think about it. And once I create a system, I want the work to be done. Right. And that's where I have trouble sometimes in maintaining a system, rejiggering it a little bit to make it, stay more appropriate and everything. I just want to, it's like, look, we built the system, just do what the
system says.
So, we've had great conversations about where systems and people intersect, the problems that occur. And I kind of want to go, well, no, it's just the system. And you're like, no, it's the people. And we have these conversations. But yeah, I do. I care a lot about systems. To me, systems have to account for people's actions, but ultimately a good system should be architected in a way that the rules aren't so rigid that people get to a spot and don't know what to do because there's not a rule for that. The system should be more flexible guidelines, if you will, and that's why I think of culture as a system too. Guidelines for helping me understand what I need to do when I arrive to this point. Right. Sometimes those are explicit instructions where needed, but oftentimes they're more, okay, this is what we're trying to accomplish. In our world, it's all about online, right?
Sure.
A system that tells somebody what to do, an SOP, a standard operating procedure that tells people what to do, oftentimes is go here, click on this link, look for the blue button in the left-hand corner, click that, you see the form, the third entry there is where you need to put this information. Well, forms change all the time. So you go to that link and the button's not there, or it's not blue anymore, it's yellow, or it's not the third entry in the form, it's the eighth, So I don't want to bother with creating such specificity in the system and the process that people get to there and they don't know what to do.
Right.
I want to make sure that people that are using our systems can think through those things and be self-sufficient to figure out the minutia. But I want the system to be well informed so that everybody knows what we're trying to accomplish.
And I think what's interesting in that same sense with techs is part of it can be very go here, do that, go here, do that. But there's a whole lot that Chuck talks about that really is more about the nuances that you have
training,
to
problem
train.
solving skills and things like that.
Yeah. So let's get in and see what Mr. Roydhouse has to
Absolutely.
say.
We'll come back after. Hey, Chuck, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you, guys. It's always a pleasure.
So, I know a lot of business owners want to focus on the technical skills. That seems to be where the focus is when they go to trade shows, when they put their guys through the courses and the CEUs and all of that. But when you're getting a guy ready for the job, field ready, what do you think of besides just technical skills?
Well, that's the thing. That's where you're limiting yourself and you're setting yourself up to fail. I've got one word, and it's systems. And systems is an all-encompassing thing. You need a plan, you need a guide, you need SOPs for every aspect of your business operation. How do we look? How do we act? How do we problem solve? SOPs for the delivery of everything, whether it's how you answer the phone, to how you restock the trucks, to how the trucks are laid out, to how you deliver the service to the clients, whether it's inspection or whether it's a chimney repair. And then you've got to have a plan B, because sooner or later Murphy's going to show up with the monkey and the wrench. They seem to go together. So you can have the best laid plans, but you need to have some kind of a backup. The other thing that we do is we do training. It has to be ongoing all year long, even in the busy season. We'll have a 1-hour staff meeting each week, and we'll go over the challenges that we're having. We'll go over sales goals, safety procedures. We'll review 1 or 2 SOPs at a time, and we'll add the comments for any updates from the team themselves. We let them be involved with what's going on. I learned a long time ago, it was very embarrassing. I pulled out an SOP on ChimScan, and it was talking about inserting the floppy disk. And I hadn't had a ChimScan with a floppy disk for over 10 years.
Yeah.
So now what you do is you regularly let the guys be involved when you have your 1-hour meeting. The 1-hour meeting, a lot of people look at it and they think, oh my God, what is this costing me per hour? Because I'm always preaching what it costs you to operate per hour. And if you've got 6 guys sitting in a room, that's times 6. That adds up to real money. But that's short-sighted if you look at it. That has to be an investment of a morale booster, bringing the company together, bringing the team together, and let's hear what's going on. That's the time, especially in the busy season, when maybe something's going on with one crew that they've run into something or they're having a problem with a tool. And by bringing it to the table like a family dinner meeting, then somebody's going to say, oh, yeah, we were having that problem with, the ChimScan, and if you do this to it, you'll never have a problem with it again. Or, yeah, all you got to do is put 2 drops of 3-in-1 oil on that drill, and, man, it smooths it right out. Well, if you don't communicate that you're having issues because you're tired at the end of the day, you forgot to tell somebody, or you just put up with it, that's how you resolve those problems. So it's money in the bank. It really is. It's an investment in your people. It's an investment in your organization.
So I know there's a lot that goes into the maintenance and the skill and that kind of thing, because those are things that we can measure. One of the things I find that's really interesting are the soft skills that you can't measure. Can you address what a technician, the soft skills that they have to have, the customer service, the sales skills, some of those kind of things, even body language?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So that's why we go over, how do they look? We'll pull somebody out of a meeting and say, hey, your pants are getting kind of shoddy. Is that really up to our standard? How are you going to make a sales call with somebody when they're distracted by looking at the ripped hole in your knee? That's a distractor. Or, we have a company policy where our guys don't wear, head jewelry like earrings or anything. Mm-hmm. It's a distractor. And our market area, the demographic who buys from us, are people who would be distracted by that. Right, wrong, or indifferent, it doesn't matter. You play for my team. I set the rules. I know what works and what doesn't. So if you're going to interview for a job somewhere, you wear the appropriate clothing. You don't go into a sales job in a T-shirt and a pair of shorts. You would wear maybe a suit or at least a sport jacket and a tie and a nice pair of pants. So this is the same kind of thing to explain to them. If you're in someone's home, they need to be comfortable, they need to be relaxed, and you need to look the part. So that's one of the things we go over all the time. The other is how you talk to the people, you slow things down, you watch them for visual cues. Are they connecting? You make eye contact. Are they listening to what you're saying? Maybe you need to repeat something or ask them to repeat it back, but not as obvious as that. Do you understand, Mrs. Jones, what I just said? Is there a better way for me to explain this to you, or is this making sense? Problem-solving skills. We have a lot of questions about that or training on it where it's like, wait a minute, don't be a robot. You've got to think outside the box. The one thing, especially about the chimney industry, is every home is different. Every home has different challenges and everything's unique. And you get to solve different problems. So that's really, really fun that you're not doing the same mundane job every day. But at the same time, there's enough commonality that, don't be the moth to the flame. Step back and get a 360-degree view, see what's causing this problem. Do they have a water leak and there's nothing wrong with their chimney? But if you would have looked maybe towards the peak of the roof, you would have saw where a tree limb had broken through the shingle and everything's leaking down through it into their attic. If we solve that, even though we don't fix roofs, we've solved their issue. We showed them we were thorough, and they call a roofer. So those are the things that we tell them to look at. Think outside of the box. And then if you have SOPs of everything that they're supposed to do, from the minute they turn the corner to approach a client's house, and they follow all those, they're going to hit those marks 98% of the time because it becomes repetition.
Absolutely. Good advice for getting a guy ready for being in the field, all those other things. Proud Nation, make sure you visit Chuck's website. It's roydhouseeffect.com. Chuck, thanks for being on our show.
Oh, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Whew, that guy's just got principles. I mean, the way he wants to run things.
Yeah.
I love how he thinks about it. He cares a lot about his people, but he expects a lot too.
Oh, yeah.
And I think ultimately that's the reason that he's been so successful is having those systems in place, making sure that his team is trained to those specifications, and constantly investing. He used the word invest when it came to training, and I thought that was important, a distinction. It's not a cost. It really is an investment.
It really is.
You get a return from
Here's the other thing I love about expectations. People will normally live up to or live down to the expectations that you have of them. And I think that's one of the things that I see in owners, that they need to really caution themselves. When they start out with a person, if they make a generalized expectation in their mind that this person's not going to be worth anything, or that's not going to do this or not going to do that, as opposed to have an expectation of success for everyone they hire, have an expectation of excellence, because people will live up to or live down to an expectation.
You bet.
So that's just my take on that. So I love the fact that he has high expectations.
One of the things that we've seen in our business is as we've developed systems and gotten on board with the idea that there are certain processes that we can formalize for training our employees, we've been able to see more productivity. We've seen fewer errors in the work that's done. I want you to talk about that whole journey that we had as we started doing that in our business and how we've seen that pay off.
Well, first and foremost, I have to thank Jerry Eisenhower with CVC Coaching, because let me tell you, he was the first one that said, you guys need to put some SOPs in place.
And like in a hurry.
And you and I both, even though you love systems, we sat through our process and went, we'll never be able to systematize this stuff.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, you need to figure out what you do over and over and over and over and over again and systemize it. You've got to do this. And he stayed on us probably for 6 to 8 months before one day I was pulling my hair out, which I don't have any more to pull. But it was one of those situations that it was like, we got to try this. Let's just see what we can do. And so we just started, and I had no idea how to do it. You had no idea how to do it. And so I just said, okay. And I just started pointing to people and say, you write this, you write that. And it just, you write all this stuff. We'll overlook it, and then we'll swap them out and see who can do what. And so it was really not a very well thought out in the beginning. But I think what happened, which is fantastic, you want to talk about culture and systems kind of blending themselves together. What we did is every time somebody did an SOP, we gave it to somebody else who wasn't anywhere near that process and see if they could go through it. And if they could go through it, we knew we had a good place to start. If they couldn't go through it, we knew we had a problem. And that's how we started. But what ended up happening is we would go through and work the system, and then we would find little tweaks and stuff in it. And so, and we've told this story before, then you were out of the office and I was gone for a month doing client visits. And it's been several years, maybe 3 years ago, and this summer. And we came back, and the entire team had gone through every single aspect of our business to patch the holes in the system. And it was fantastic. They did a great job. They're the ones doing the work, so it makes sense that they're the ones figuring out the patches and how to fix it. And so they've since gone to a different format. I mean, we use Teamwork now, which is a little bit different. I probably would be lost because I don't do any of it anymore. But they have an entire systematic checklist that they go through, and it triggers when one person is done with one thing, something else happens. So now they just keep fixing when an error happens. They go, okay, now what?
We got a spot.
We got a spot. Yeah. We need to figure out what to do this. And they get together and they work on it until they get it fixed.
Yes.
And, the thing that happens with that, and I think the thing that as owners, this is my opinion, I can't speak for you, but for me, what it does is a couple of things. Number one, it tells me how much they care, okay? And they do care about the clients. It's not just caring that an error was made or something was missed, because they know how this affects the client. So ultimately, they care about the client. Right. So, which makes me feel good about the owner of a business because we're client-centric. The second thing, though, that it does, it shows that they can work together. And that's, to me, one of the most satisfying things in our business is watching how different departments and different people and different things ask for help, ask for feedback, and really work together to create something bigger than they could do on their own. Yeah. And so, what I would tell people is if you're not letting people have the responsibility to see and make those little tweaks and changes, you're really missing out. I think one of the things that is something that I did that was really, really good is tell all the guys from the get-go, look, this is how I do it. Doesn't mean you have to do it this way, because the way I do it may be totally back-asswards than the way you want to do it, so y'all figure it out. And they figured out a way that works with all of them, and so it's very much more cohesive and well-run, and, it's so much better than when it was my way. Yeah. I'll just tell you, it was so much better.
One of the important lessons there, I think, is that when we started this, we didn't know exactly how to do, how to start creating that documentation. I'm good at creating systems. I didn't know how to document things for other people to do. I like building systems more than documenting systems, but it was necessary, and we didn't know how to do it. But we just started, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we just began.
Yeah.
They were rough. They weren't complete. We needed to refine those, and we spent a lot of time refining those as we went. But instead of just you and I doing it, we put other people in charge of that.
Yeah.
And they rose up to that task, and they did an incredible job. And now that the documentation is there, we continue to improve it. We continue to modify it, change, update. But now we're putting other systems in place that make the processes easier, that automate certain things, that help to keep track of what's going on and where. So it's that constant improvement that's there that has become part of our culture just as much as the standard training and the standardized way that we do things. But the end result of that is important too, right? Because in the beginning, when we started this, it was taking us a year or more to train in our business what would be a lead tech, if you will. Okay, it was taking over a year to get that person fully trained, and even then, there were still gaps and holes that they had to figure out as they went. Through standardized training and making that system better and creating processes that people follow, we just had somebody come in from day one of hire to full speed in just a little over 2 months.
About 2.5 months.
2.5 months.
Yeah.
That's an incredible speed. Now, I attribute a lot of that to the employee
I was starting to
themselves.
say we've had 2 of them do it.
Yes,
actually.
but a
they're
lot
sharp,
of it, yes, but
both
we're
of them.
seeing the payoff in the standardization of the training, the methodology that we're using to get people trained, and that's taken time to get right. But the dividend is huge in terms of the amount of time we have to spend getting someone up to full speed in our business.
And here's the other thing I think to really say about that. Both these people that have gone through recently, we've asked them to do something for us. Anything that didn't make sense, anything that they felt could be better, please let us know. And both of them had suggestions.
Yep.
And so being willing to take suggestions from brand new people, let me tell you what that does. What that does is that gets them involved from the get-go with your company, and it lets them know that they've got the freedom to make things better.
Yes.
And
Not only the freedom, but there's an expectation that that's part of what they do.
That's part of what they do. I cannot tell you, one of my biggest frustrations is when somebody goes, yeah, that's okay, but we do it this way. It's like, don't do that.
Yeah.
Sit down and say, okay, because you never know. Something could be so much better than the way you're doing it. Or you mix the two things together and find something even better than the two. And even if it's not better, then you have the opportunity to explain why, go through that, and that person's been able to speak into your business. And just because somebody's brand new doesn't mean that what they have to say is invalid.
It's true.
So if you want systems to really work, start listening to your people, because they're the ones that are actually doing the system.
Yes, that is great. Well, this has been a great conversation. I hope it's been inspiring to you, Proud Nation, to think about other ways of training, to think about creating systems. Systems will help you grow as you continue to hire other people, and the size of the organization makes it impossible for you to not have systems in place. The more you grow, the more systems become important, and I think Chuck definitely helped us understand that today too. All right, good stuff. Now, we do have some feedback this week. And actually, Taylor, I'm going to ask you to talk about it. It was someone that you spoke to on the phone, I believe.
Yeah, we got a request to just have a phone call. So I was able to call Keith. He's a plumber in Toronto. Keith, if you're listening, thank you very much. I really enjoyed our conversation and hope things will go really well for you. He's basically just starting out and just told me how valuable the podcast has been, and he is an avid listener, and even to the point of turning his brother onto it, who's just a laborer guy, but his brother loves it too. So to Keith and his brother, thank you so very much. I can't tell you how much it means to us to hear some feedback.
Absolutely. Thanks for that, Keith. And if you'd like to leave us some feedback as well on the podcast, you can do that. The best place to do that we'd like for you to do it, is over in the podcast app in iTunes. Just find our show page, Blue Collar Proud Show, and then look for the reviews section, and you can leave a review for us there. We'll find it, and we'd love to read it on the air for one of the next podcast episodes. You can also leave a review for our book, which you can find on Amazon.com. It's just do a search for Blue Collar Proud, 10 Principles for Building a Kick-Ass Business You Love, and just search Blue Collar Proud and you'll find the book. But leave us a comment there if you've read it and if it's been helpful to you. Also, don't forget that you can download our free show app over in the Apple App Store or from Google Play. It's a great way to get our content every single week right there on your phone, get an alert when a new episode comes out. Also get alerts when there is special content that's been added, bonus content on the app, only available in the app, as well as some special offers too that'll help you grow your business. So make sure you grab that. It's free, and you can find it in, like I said, the App Store or Google Play. Most of all, though, I just want to remind you to come hang out with us over in the Blue Collar Proud Nation Facebook group. It's a great place just to see what other people are doing to grow their business. We talk about various things. We throw in some funny stuff every once in a while. It's just a great place to hang out, be a part of the Proud Nation over there. So just find Blue Collar Proud Nation on Facebook group. On Facebook, ask to be added to the group. We'll let you right in, and then you can hang out with us there. And of course, you can always find out about all the other places where you can connect with us by simply going to bcpshow.com/connect. And that is going to do it for this episode of the Blue Collar Proud Show. As always, Taylor and I want to thank you so much for listening every single week. We want to thank the people that make this show happen as well. That would be Aaron Blaze, our amazing technical director, Jessica Wynn, our outstanding show coordinator, and Jonathan Sanders, our incredibly dedicated and loyal community manager. Until next time, remember, it takes the same energy to build a business that you hate as it does to take that energy and build one that you're super proud of. So why not build it the Blue Collar Proud way?
The Blue Collar Proud Show is a production of the Blue Collar Proud Network.